Hi lads and lasses, and welcome to Darts Coaching with Dynamite Dave. Welcome to 5 tips for great practice. Right, here we are up in the studio, and what we're going to do today is good little tips for practice rather than actual routines themselves. These are good little exercises that you can do that will improve your grouping and improve your accuracy. The first one of those little tips is dead simple. I would say 99.9% of us have got more than one similar set of darts. So what this exercise is this is to improve your grouping. All you need is 2 sets of darts. If you've got 2 that are identical, fantastic, because that's what I always do, is I always have at least 2 sets of whatever darts that I'm using consistently if I'm going out to play competitions and what have you. We've not done that for the last 3-4 months because obviously we've not been allowed to. But I've always had, like, the with my Impact 2s, I had 2 sets of them. The Target Carrera C3s that I had when I first started off, I had 3 sets of them. So I always had 2 sets that I had access to at all times. So obviously if I went to a competition, if anything happened, like I broke a point or something like that, or snapped a stem off so I couldn't get it out within a few seconds, what I had was I always had the 2 sets of darts in my case. And that always means that it's brilliant, because as you're throwing your darts, if something happens, you don't have to suspend the game or anything. You just pick it up, walk up to your case, throw your broken dart in the case. Even if it's a flight that's been damaged, you can just throw that limp dart into the case and pick another one out. Simple as that, and just carry on playing, because they're all identical darts. So what I've got is I've got 2 sets of darts that are very similar. They're both the same weight, both about the same length, slightly different grip patterns on them, but that doesn't matter, because all you're doing is you're building your muscle memory. So this is the first one of the tips. So what you do is you get all 6 darts in hand, in your serving hand. That's if I don't drop them and put one through my toe, of course. So you put them all in your serving hand, and what you're doing is you're throwing 6 darts at the same target. So instead of doing your grouping with 3, you're just doing it with 6 instead. So simple as that. So what you're doing is you're using the 6 darts. The reason that you do this is it's giving you more repetitive arm for each walking backwards and forwards. So instead of doing 3 walk backwards and forwards, you're doing 6 and walk backwards and forwards. What I tend to do with this, and this is a really good thing to do this and all, and it's quite entertaining as well as improving your game. What you can do is you can play 1001. Instead of playing 501, play 1001 with 6 darts, and you'd be amazed the difference in the way that it builds your actual accuracy and your consistency by using 6 darts instead of 3. Right, so what we'll do is we'll have 1 or 2 more visits with these, and then we'll go on to tip number 2. Obviously during this exercise you can go to different parts of the board, so you can use different targets. So I've just used the bull, and then what we can do is we can go up to the treble 20. And that's hopefully the result. See, getting all the grouping nice, no stray arrows all over the place, and it just builds that accuracy. And the tips that I'm giving you today are all the Dynamite Dave tips, the ones that I use. Right, so now what we're going to do is we're going to go on to tip number 2. Tip number 2 is, and you can still use the same 6 arrows if you want, or you can use 3, you can drop back to 3 if you want to. And I call this one, it's the flight, not the board. Right, so what you do is you throw your first dart in, and wherever that lands, you throw all your other darts at the flight of that dart. You actually try and hit the flight of the dart, of your first dart, with your other 2 or your other 5. It's entirely up to yourself, but that is one of the ways that you will tighten your darts up. You noticed in that last one where I was going for the 60s, every single one of them was in the 20 bed. There wasn't one in the 5 or one in the 1 out of 6 arrows. And that is all because what I do is I throw the first one went just underneath the 60. So what I do then is I then throw all my other darts at the first dart's flight, and that is how you get yourself tight. So in other words, what you're doing is you're taking the peripheral view of the rest of the board, or your brain, from thinking about the board into thinking just about that one area, which is the flight. And Dave Chisnell is one of the ones that uses this method, and he's one of the biggest 180 hitters ever. Same again. So like I say, you're throwing that one's landed up into the 1. So what we're going to do is just follow it. So we're throwing at that dart's flight, just trying to hit the flight. That one was nice and close. Oh, that was terrible. That was a little bit out, and that one was nice and close again. So if you use the 6 darts again, it gives you more throws per walking backwards and forwards. So again, that will help you improve your actual grouping. So now what I'll do is I'll do a couple of 3 visits, just doing this and showing you how I do it. See, there you go. All of those were thrown at the first dart's flight. There was one that I actually pulled across and it actually went into the 5, but that was because as I went forward I actually curled the dart to the left by rolling it out of my fingers. Something that's like an advanced technique, but that's something that we may go into if you have some personal coaching from me. Again, when you're using this in practice, it's the stalwart of the Dynamite Dave way. It's 20s, 19s, 18s, 17s. The 17s, why? Because it's 1. So it's 51. Dead easy. It makes it much easier to calculate where you're going. So what we'll do now is we'll move down to the 19s. But same again, just throw one in and then just throw the others at the first dart's flight. And the last one was a bit of a stray, but the others weren't too bad. Yeah, all the others are quite good. So that's what it's all about. It's all about just trying to hit, that flight on the way in, and that'll improve your grouping no matter where it is on the board. And don't forget, it's just as important to do it on the doubles. So I'm just doing 20s, 19s. I've done 20s, 19s here. Like I say, 18s, 17s for your scoring. But don't forget to do it on your doubles as well. These first two techniques work absolutely fantastic on your scoring and on your doubles using the 6 darts. Right, tip number 3, and this is part of the Dynamite Dave way, but it doesn't really matter. It works out fantastic no matter which way you do it. My theory is you're never ever going to win a leg by scoring. So you can hit 180 after 180 after 180, but if you can't finish, you can't win a game. It's as simple as that. So what we do again, do this quite a lot, 6 darts again. So this is the key to these tips really, is using the 6 darts instead of the 3, because it gives you more, again, gives you more time throwing, less time walking backwards and forwards. And the more repetitive, so the more darts you use in one visit, you're going to improve your actual accuracy and your consistency. Regardless of whether you use the Dynamite Dave way or throwing or not, this will just build consistency into whatever type of throw you use. So what we're going to do now is same thing again. What we're going to do is we're going to do some what I call doubling down. So doubling down is the next tip. So what we're doing is when we're finishing, instead of thinking of going all over the place on the board, just try and stay. It's what I call go where you know and know where you're going. So basically, dead simple, if I want 80, so we say we're going for 80, 2 double tops, is 80 for me. A lot of people will go 60 for double 10. The problem is for me, what I think is if you hit that first one in the double, again, it's your muscle memory, it's just putting another one next to it. So it's boom, it's in, boom, it's in, simple as that. It just makes it a lot easier. Also, the doubles are a lot bigger than the trebles, so they're a lot easier to hit. Alright, I know what a lot of people say, you might go outside the board, but that's just, it's only the same as going for a treble and going on either side of it. It doesn't mean that you've got any better chance of actually checking that finish out. So now what we're going to do is we're going to do the double 16 as a first start off, because this is how we do the grouping for the muscle memory on double 16. Right, now I don't know how many I've got there, but I've got at least 2, I think. Right, so there we go. If you have a good look at that now, before I start walking backwards and forwards, I've just took the 2 out that I've missed with. If you look there, 4 out of 6 darts are in the double 16, and that is all about your grouping. So if I was going for 64, that is one of the ways that I would do it, because if I hit the double 16, right, it's another one next to it. If I go into the single, it's another 16, and I'm staying exactly where I am. So that can be used on all the different doubles around the board, 10s, 18s, any of them. And it's dead, and it just makes it, like I say, know where you're going and go where you know. And it just means that you don't have to change your mind and you don't have to change things around. Same thing as when you've got it all sorted out in your head. Say you're going to go for a double 16, and instead of hitting the double 16 you hit a single 8, right? You need to know then exactly where to go to put that right. If you hit the 7, where to put it right. So it's 7 and 9, yeah? It's 8 and 8, a 16. So all you're doing is you've lost that 8, so instead of going for double 16 you've hit the 8. So it's all about going where you know and know where you're going. So when you get up to the board you need to know exactly what you want to do and exactly how to fix it if it goes wrong for where you're going to. And you'd be absolutely amazed at the amount of these that I actually hit in the pub and what have you. It blows people's minds. So as you can see, as I said there, we've took 6 darts, and 4 of those 6 darts have ended up in the double 16. Right, so now what we're going to do is go on to the next tip. Right, so now what we're doing is we're on to tip number 4. Tip number 4 is warming up. Make sure you don't go to the board and start playing straight away. What you need to do is, it's like any form of sport, you've got to warm that arm up. With running, you've got to warm them legs up. No one just walks out with the thing, no professional athlete or nobody who's serious about doing it goes and starts straight away sprinting down the street, because all that'll do is tear your muscles and it causes havoc. You'll end up, with us, you'll end up with elbow injuries, you'll end up with shoulder injuries, you can also end up with hip injuries, knee injuries and ankle injuries. So it's very, very important that you warm up. The way that I warm up is basically just throwing at the board. Just getting that arm loosened up. First of all, just throwing at the board, doesn't matter where the darts land. And all you're doing is just basically just getting that rhythm for the arm. Make sure it's nice and slow, because don't forget, we don't need to throw the darts through the back of the board. All we're doing is we're putting them in the board, not throwing them through the back. So nice and easy, nice and gentle just to warm up. And again, I'm using the 6 darts instead of the 3. You can use the 3, doesn't really matter. Like I say, the only difference that this makes to you is it's more throwing and less walking. So we'll go back to 3, we'll go to back to the veracities, and again it's just a matter of basically just throwing them darts just after each other. Just get that rhythm of throwing the darts where they're going. Wherever your first one lands, first thing when you first start to play darts, when you first start to warm up, just plop, plop, plop. Don't think I've got to get them in the 60, because what will happen is if you're warming up and you're getting nowhere near the 60, it gets in your head. And then what happens is you're fighting yourself all the time. You're fighting your body and you're fighting your mind all the time, trying to get those darts to where you want them to go. The simplest way to get them to where you want, get them to go where you want them to go, is stop trying. Right, so on to tip number 5, and that is exactly what I've just mentioned. It's stop trying. So many people, you can see when and it's a lot more evident in people that have got the mental side, a weak mental side of the game, because what happens is they allow the brain to interfere with what the body's doing. Instead of developing a rhythm, if you've watched me play, which you are doing now, you're watching me throw, I've got a rhythm. So many players throw one dart, then the other, a bit like this. And that means that my brain has got time to interfere with what I'm doing. What you start to do is, if you don't have a rhythm, it doesn't have to be a fast rhythm, it just means that you shouldn't stop in between your throws, because what happens then is you start to overthink things. And I know for a fact thousands of you out there are going to understand this. Once you start to think about things, it starts to mess with your head. So that's why you need a rhythm, and that's why I'm telling you about getting that grouping, throwing the first dart and then just throwing your other ones at it. Don't just let them go, just let them go. Trust your body, and then your mind will become more confident in what your body can do, and then your body and your mind will work as one. So many dart players out there have got the potential to be really good, but they keep themselves down by overthinking things. So it's basically just getting a rhythm like this. No time for the brain to get involved, because the arm is going. All I do is I look at where I want my dart to go. I don't stand there and aim it. I look and just allow my body just to put that dart where I want it to go, and it just happens. It just does. Just trust me and have a try at it. So what I'll do now is I'll just do 2 or 3 visits, and I'll just throw the way that I normally throw, and that'll hopefully give you a good idea of what I mean by the rhythm. I'll back this camera out slightly, and then hopefully you'll be able to see the serving hand and everything. Right, so now I've backed the camera out, and you can see all the way down to the bottom of my shirt, so you can see the serving hand and everything. How there's just a really, really nice flow to the way that I do it. So here we go. Nice grouping. That's all we're after. First thing in the morning, first thing in the pub, whatever, is just warming that arm up. Just basically going to different parts of the board as you do it. Taking your time, make sure you set up properly on the hockey. You see, this is the standard you'll get to. Alright, I'm not hitting treble 20s every time, or treble 19s or treble 18s every time I go to the board, but I'm not even trying. This is all about being able to throw reasonably well without any effort. Then when you do put effort in, when you go to a competition or something, it just ignites the way that you play, because you can play a lot better once you actually put some real focus into it. Overpitched it. See, but the importance of this is the relaxedness of it. It's not trying. You're just allowing the darts to go where you want to go. And you saw a couple of visits there of a little bit around the board. I just went from 1 to 10. So basically it was 1, 1, 2, 3 in the first visit, double 4, 9 for double 10. And that obviously would then put you on to 20 for carrying on for your thing to do your finishing. But I was just basically just doing that. It's just a little bit of a warm up just to go to different parts of the board, which is a really good, round the world, round the clock, round the board, whichever way you want to call it, is a really good game for changing direction each time you throw a dart. That's good for your, what we call your first dart pitching. That's really good for that, but again, that's something for another video. But let's just do another couple of visits. And now what we'll do is we'll go for something that's completely at random, treble 12. So it's your first of all, your first one is your first dart pitching. It's getting your first dart pitching right, which is slightly off there. I've hit the treble 9, just on the wire of the treble 12, and that's what it's all about, is being able to adjust. And like I say, that's absolutely effortless. That is just basically just plopping them in. I'm not trying to hit the treble 12 like I would do if I was in a match. Two on the outside, one in. So if I was finishing on double 10 there, I've checked out. Like I say, that's absolutely 100% effortless. And that, to plug the Dynamite Dave way, that's what the Dynamite Dave way is all about. It's all about relaxing into it and making it as simple as possible. The more simple it is, the more efficient it is. The more efficient it is, the more accurate it is, and the more consistent it is. It's as simple as that. Double 2, double 2, double 2, 3 in a row. See? And that's all absolutely effortless. You could see the way that I was throwing. I'm not really trying. I'm not really trying to fling those darts through the back of the board. It's all about letting go and just letting it happen. Right, so those are my 5 tips. Get yourself away there, have a go at it and see if it works for you. I'm pretty sure that it will. So thanks for watching Darts Coaching with Dynamite Dave. Don't forget, sorry to keep plugging it, but it's how I keep going. So it's £2 down here, PayPal me for the raffle. Have as many goals as you can as you can afford and what have you. It really does help me along. And thanks for watching. Don't forget, lads and lasses, you'll only ever get out of this game what you're prepared to put in. And always, 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 to the hockey.